Hi, my name is Dan Tricarico, and I wrote a book called The Zen Teacher, Creating Focus, Simplicity, and Tranquility in the Classroom. And I wrote it because I've been a teacher at West Hills High School in Santee, California for 24 years now. And in the last 5 to 10 years, I've just seen a very disturbing pattern emerge. I've seen great teachers, some of the best teachers I've ever seen, kind of melt down, crash and burn out, and just leave the profession. And I thought, I can't do that. I've got 9 or 10 more years before retirement, and I have to find a way through. And I remembered back as a drama major the meditation and mindfulness exercises that we would use to help us be in a state that the acting teachers called a relaxed preparedness. And I thought that's what teachers need. They need to be relaxed, but they need to be ready to go. And that's what these techniques that I've written about can help us do. So as this new school year begins, I want to talk to you about taking care of yourselves and reducing that stress. And I want to mention a couple ways that I think that you can do that. First of all, I want to talk about what I call radical and intentional self-care. Now, I stole the radical part from a writer named Anne Lamott. She talks about radical self-care, and I think she's an awesome writer. But I added the word intentional, and I want to break those two words down for you. First of all, intentional self-care, if it's intentional, it means it's on purpose. You have to choose that you're going to take care of you. Nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is going to come up to me and say, you know what you really need right now, Dan? You need a nap. Why don't you go take a nap? That's just not going to happen. So I have to be in charge of my own self-care, and I have to decide and be intentional about the things that I need. The second word is radical. And radical, as you know, means different than usual. And that's really true here because most people in today's society are go, 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 go. Type A people, they want to get things done and be productive, and that's all wonderful. But sometimes you go too much, you get burned out, and you don't take care of yourself. So you have to take a radical step away from the typical things that are happening, and you have to choose to take care of yourself. So the self-care that I'm talking about is intentional, and it's radical. It's intentional, it's on purpose, and it's radical. It's different than what is typically going on. And because of that, the thing I would ask you to keep in mind is if you're doing something, as you know, that's different than everybody else, chances are you're going to get some grief for it. Some people are going to look at you and say, why can he do that, or why can she do that when I can't do that? And it's going to look like you're goofing off, and it's going to look like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But you have to ignore that. You have to listen to your own signals in your own body and your own rhythms and say, I need this. And you need to insist on your intentional and radical self-care. So that's a very important idea. The other thought I want to share with you about self-care is a little acronym I made up called a basic exercise in mindfulness. And BASIC is the acronym because I figure, you know what, education just doesn't have enough acronyms. So I created a new one. And the BASIC acronym stands for this. First of all, the B is for breath. And that means when you're feeling the stress level get high, when you're feeling a little overwhelmed, the first thing you want to do is stop and just start to breathe. Slow, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, connecting to your breath impulse, connecting to that life force that reminds you that you're alive, that reminds you of all the other tough days you've been through, that you've gotten through, because your success rate for getting through difficult days is 100%. And the way you remember that is to start by just breathing. Now, the A stands for acknowledgement. And what that means is you just, once you're stopped and you're connected to your breath impulse, you just acknowledge what's going on without judgment. That's a very important part. You just take stock. You just take inventory. You take physical stock. How's my body doing? You take mental and emotional stock, even spiritual stock. And you just take inventory on what's going on. How do I feel? Is my stomach upset? Do I have a headache? What exactly is bothering me? What exactly is going on? And again, there's no judgment. You're not saying, oh, that shouldn't bother me or this shouldn't bother me. You're just letting it be what it is and taking inventory and figuring out what's going on. So that's the A. The S is for stillness. As much as you can in that situation, find a place where you can be still. And this probably will involve some silence too. So you're going to find a place where you can just kind of lower the rhythms and be still and be quiet so that you can listen to the deeper messages that you're getting. And that's where the I comes in. The I stands for intuition. You're going to listen to those inner voices, that hunch that you have, those leadings that you're getting, that will tell you what exactly is the problem. Is it something different you need to do in your lesson? Is it something different you need to do in your classroom? Is there a coworker who's bothering you? I'm sure that doesn't happen to anybody here, but sometimes with me, it's coworkers, and you have to kind of figure out what it is. Once you've connected to your breath, once you've acknowledged and taken inventory, you check in with the intuition and you say, what exactly is going on? And finally, the C is very important. The C stands for compassion. And there's two kinds of very important compassion. The one compassion is for others. And you can get that compassion by saying, what is the most generous assumption I can make about that other person? I find that to be very helpful in creating empathy. What is the most generous assumption I can make about that other person? And the second most important type of compassion is compassion for yourself. And that's the part that most people typically forget. They forget to give themselves a little wiggle room, to forgive themselves, to allow themselves not to be perfect. And if you can do that, if you can start to practice that a little bit, then by the time you go through all of these steps of the basic exercise in mindfulness, the breathing, the acknowledgement, the stillness, the intuition, and the compassion for others and yourself, then I think you'll feel a lot better after you go through those steps in the process. Not only did I come up with the acronym, but I do go through that process, and I can tell you personally that after the process, I feel a lot more calm and a lot more prepared to handle whatever is going to happen. The final thing I want to tell you about is something called permission slips. And I learned about this from a writer named Brené Brown. She wrote an amazing book called Rising Strong. And she talked about how people need to give themselves permission and write actual permission slips for things that they need to do to take care of themselves. She talked about how she was going to go on the Oprah Winfrey show. And she wrote a physical hard copy permission slip that said, I give myself permission to act goofy and be silly and just have fun on the Oprah show. And I think that's perfect. If I was going on the Oprah show, I would freak out. I would be nervous. But by acknowledging that and writing down that it's okay just to have fun and be silly and be yourself, the stress level goes down. You feel much more ready to handle these big, overwhelming events in your life. So I challenge you and I encourage you to, when you feel that stress kind of rising, stop, take a paper and pencil, make it as official as you can make it, and write a permission slip for yourself to give yourself permission to do a specific thing. You would do it for your students. If they're going on a field trip, you get permission from the parents because that makes it a real thing and that makes it okay. Well, you need to make it okay for yourself. You need to write a permission slip for you saying it's okay for you to take care of you, and be as specific as you can. Say what you're going to do, say how you're going to do it, and say when you're going to do it, and how long that it's going to take, I think, is another good thing. So I want to just review with you some basic ideas about self-care. One, it's intentional, which means it's by choice. It's radical, which means it's different than what we normally do. Remember the basic exercise in mindfulness, which consists of breath, acknowledgement, stillness, intuition, and compassion for others and yourself. And remember to write those permission slips, and remember to write it down and make it a hard copy, because you know when something is real and it has mass and it has gravity, that makes it a real thing and it's more likely to happen. So let me wish you all the best in this upcoming school year. And if you have any questions, you can contact me through Twitter. My handle is @TheZenTeacher. I would encourage you to check out my website and blog at www.thezenteacher.com. And if you want to make the leap, you can also check out my book on Amazon, The Zen Teacher, Creating Focus, Simplicity, and Tranquility in the Classroom. Thank you very much, and have a great year. Thanks.